feel like I'm already regretting this hair and I feel like a Spice Girl, but I put my sports mode strands. Sports strand activated because a big forehead. Anyways, you can watch on YouTube if you want to see what my hair looks like, but that's not what we're here about. I have this week best of 2024. I was inspired and annoyed, like most of us, watching everybody's Wrapped come through on Instagram. Everyone sharing what their Wrapped was. Does anyone really care? But here I am, inspired to share the best of Reckoning 2024. I just thought it would be a great way to kind of have one space for all of our best moments in episodes. This is clearly not all of them. There's too many great moments, but these are some highlights throughout 2024. And because there are so many, I decided to break them up into sections. And so this is going to be the best of stories for hunting and just outdoor experiences that have been shared on Reckoning in 2024 specifically. So these are just little glimpses of episodes themselves. As I go through these, I will break down what episodes it's off of. So that way, if you want to go back and listen to the full episode, then you can. I know there's a lot of new faces around here. If you're just discovering the podcast, welcome. It's so great to have you. This is going to kind of give you the essence of, I wanted to be like, if you're, the whole essence of Reckoning anyways is just sitting around the campfire shooting the shit, right? You never know what you're going to get with a group of people you have at camp that day, that evening, that week. It's all walks of life, and that is the same thing when it comes to this Wrapped episode. I want it to be as if, you know, we're around the campfire and you're going to get different highlights or stories and be inspired by that, and then maybe want to learn more about that person or what it is they're talking about. So without further ado, let's get into the best of 2024 outdoors and hunting stories. First one we have up is from our friend Jeremy Black. You've heard of Jeremy several times throughout the podcast. If you've been around here a while, he's usually on all of our hunts. On this episode, we go through Jeremy's Utah black bear hunt, and he was the first one of us, out of me, Cody, him, and a couple of our friends, to get a Utah black bear. So we learned a lot on Jeremy's hunt. You hear all about us baiting, how we learned to bait, what the hunt was like, Jeremy getting his bear. And Jeremy's just an all-around great guy, and he's an amazing leader too, and has a lot of motivation when it comes to that. So in the episode with Jeremy, I do talk to him about leadership and also taking the kids outdoors, and also just learning to take care of yourself as you're into the 40s and wanting to get outdoors and still be able to push yourself as hard or harder than you did when you were in your 20s. I wanted to have you come on for a couple reasons.
Okay.
But the big thing is everyone's heard my bear story, Cody's bear story, but it all kind of started with you. I feel like your bear hunt was the first bear hunt I got to help with.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, I'm in on this. And I tasted it.
Yeah.
So, spoiler alert, you did get your bear.
Yes.
But the bear hunt came about because you really did kind of figure it out, that area for us.
Yeah. Yeah, the bear hunt was, man, it was rough that first year. It took a lot. And at first we went into the mindset of, I wasn't going to bait. I was just going to try and spot and stalk. So I don't even know how many days I spent out there. And that time I had the early tag. So I started in April. Now we've been doing the summer hunts after that. And man, I spent a lot of time with no success and research and talking to biologists and talking to people. And there was a lot of work behind it, and a lot of other people's work behind it too when it finally all came together.
How long was your bear hunt?
It was just under 2 months. It was like 6 weeks, and I think it took me 5 weeks.
Yeah, I remember it was a grinder.
And I think it was a total of, I think I took, I'm not sure if I took 3 weeks off work, and then I did some weekends and little day things and ran out on weekends, but I think it was around 3 weeks total off work.
Man.
Of running back and forth to that place.
So how long did you end up baiting for?
End of April.
Okay.
And that's when I started going out there. There's a couple times I take a day off in the middle of the week and run out there.
And rebait it?
And rebait and just freshen bait. And nothing hit it.
Because you've got trail cameras.
Yeah, we had the trail cameras. Well, and you've seen them now when they get hit. Like, you're starting to wonder, like, but it's chipmunks pulling off grain. You know when a bear hits your bait now.
Oh,
like,
for sure.
There's no mistaking. You don't even need to look at the trail camera. But it wasn't until, it was the week before Memorial Day. I rode out there before everybody. And I don't know if you guys came out that week, because I think Cody rode with Kelsey and the girls out there to camp. And everybody was coming out for the Memorial Day weekend. And I had actually dogs set up.
Oh, I remember that.
Thursday before Memorial Day weekend to go run dogs with a guy from out there Thursday and Friday before everybody got out there. And I was out there by myself. And the Wednesday, I got there late Tuesday night. Wednesday, I went to go check baits, and it was the Wednesday before Memorial Day. And I went, checked it, nothing. And I went down and I just kind of walking in thinking, nothing. I'm going to be going on with dogs. I ran down early Wednesday morning to that other one. And it was like, I just kind of walking in, I wasn't even paying attention. And I got up to the bait and I kind of looked and it was gone. And I'm like, holy crap.
They're actually here.
Like, and I'm out there by myself. So I'm like, holy crap. Pulled trail cameras and took off back to the trailer to go rebait. And I think I was trying to get a hold of Cody and Jason. And I got a hold of Jason, and Jason ended up coming out and bringing a few things. And we hurried and rebaited that morning before lunch. That's when they finally hit. It was the week before Memorial.
Oh my gosh.
And that's kind of when that transformation took place too. Like the green was like, looks kind of dead. I mean, it's not really dead, but it just looks kind of dead. And then you go back the next week and you're like, holy crap.
Yeah, it's like green. Fluorescent.
Yep. Mosquitoes everywhere.
Yeah. Those damn mosquitoes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And meanwhile, Cody's like, holy shit, finally hit. I gotta go.
And he's at work, you know?
He's at work. I can't leave. And then walk us through how it goes down.
So Wednesday, Jason comes out. I don't know what time he got there. He got out there pretty quick. And we load up on bait and make a couple trips in there on bait. And we get back. I run back to the trailer and just looking through camera roll. And I was trying to remember. I've got them on my computer, but I can't remember how many bears were hitting that bait at the time. But it seemed like a bunch of bears had come in. There was quite a few bears hitting that one. Because it was opposite of Cody's. There was only like...
Yeah.
And then yours, it was kind of similar as well, which that one, my hunt, and I don't remember the exact number. Cody would probably remember it, the mountain bears. But there was a couple decent bears. The other thing is, dude, I don't know how to judge a bear.
Yeah, you had bear hunted at that point.
Yeah, I've been looking at stuff, and we went back in, and I told Jason, I says, let's grab some food. We load up packs, and I had my old dog with me. I'm like, and let's just go sit that till dark, because it seemed like a lot of them were coming in at dark and through the night, and then leaving early in the morning, you know. So we hiked up on the lookout, and I guess we were about where Cody shot his from on that, but back a little bit. We weren't right on the ledge. But we waited and waited and nothing, and it was like almost dark, and I don't know if it happened with Cody's, but it seemed like all the cows came through, like those kind of wild cows that went back through the tribal, because the tribals is just a little ways up the canyon. And then all of a sudden horses came through, the wild horses came through. And then all of a sudden it was like nothing. And Jason's, he's packing up. It's almost dark. And I'm like, dude, let's give it 10, 15 more minutes. Like, I want to hike out of here black.
And Jason hadn't hunted bear either.
No. And neither of us had, and I'm like, let's just sit up here. We got headlamps. I'm hiking out in the dark to the truck. And we parked clear down, just to be super careful, because it was so close. And Jason's kind of getting ready, and he's got the dog. And all of a sudden I'm like, it just appears, you know how it is. It's like all of a sudden they're there. And I was telling him, there's a bear. And where? And at that time, he kind of cleaned everything up, thinking we're going to go. I didn't have my spot scope up. And finally, that bear came in, and I'm like, So we ended up shooting that bear, but it didn't go, I don't know, 20 yards. We shot it from, I think it was like, I can't remember what we ranged at, like 100 yards.
Which was awesome.
Yeah, same day that they started hitting it. I mean, they'd been hitting like 3 or 4 days before, but just lucky. I had to call a guy that late that night because we had to get it cleaned up, and we ended up packing it out whole. Like Cody.
Like Cody?
Yeah, but we packed it clear out to the truck, clear down by the corral, down that other lower field.
Did you throw it on your...
No.
Did you like a stick?
We got this great idea to put it on the stick, but we picked a log that was like 6-inch diameter that weighed as much as the bear, trying to get across the river. And
it'll hold the bear, but it's going to be heavy.
Yeah, and it was funny walking up to it because Jason was pretty... Because by the time we actually got down to the bear, it started getting dark. You couldn't really see, and I'm like, I saw it go behind the bush, it didn't come out. I'm like, it's done, and I'm walking down there. He's kind of up on the other side of the sagebrush. There's that row of sagebrush by that ledge, and there's open field and that big, 10, 15-foot path next to that rim. He's up there with his flashlight and his gun drawn,
I don't blame him.
And he asked me, he's like, you got that thing loaded? And I'm like, oh, no.
Nope.
But I guess I ought to. But it was gone. And my dog was over there sniffing it before we even got over there.
Was he? Was that Jack?
Yeah.
Aw. That's crazy. He was over there just not afraid of it?
No, he was over there sniffing it before we even got over there. I'm like, he's
dead.
Yeah, it's done.
He's fine. It is kind of trippy, though, when you've been pulling bears in somewhere.
Yeah.
And you're just walking around. And the sagebrush, too. There's, like, your short sagebrush. Yeah. And then there's, like, the grizzly maze.
Yeah.
That is as tall as you guys. You guys are over taller. 6 foot tall. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is kind of a trip.
Yeah, that first year was a little trippy going in there, not knowing what to expect. Then we got a little comfortable. Mm-hmm. And then everybody's heard Cody's experience.
Yeah.
Then it kind of made us rethink things and just be more prepared, but it's still anymore.
Yeah.
I like going into the bait sites.
It is cool.
I like diving off and going in there.
Yeah, it is neat. You never know.
Yeah.
And just seeing what they've done to it. It's amazing.
It's crazy.
If you want to find that episode, it is Jeremy Black's Utah Black Bear Hunt. This episode was a fun one. I got to sit down with our buddy Waylon Pritchett, and Waylon is the turkey master, in my opinion. I wanted to break down the basics when it came to turkey hunting with Waylon because he is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to turkey hunting, and I realized it's been a long time since I've turkey hunted and I could learn a thing or two. And who better to learn it from than Waylon Pritchett? He breaks down literally the basics of turkey hunting, deciding where to go, what time to get there, hunting with kids, calls to use, your setup when you're in a blind or if you're sitting. Like, this is Turkey 101, okay? But Waylon shares a fun story on his turkey hunt and one of his favorite memories. Well, you've clearly done a lot of hunting in your day. Especially, it sounds like turkey hunting. You're on the hunts all the time, sounds like. Is there one story in particular that just stands out to you with turkey hunting?
I'm
sure there's just so many.
2?
Yes, of course.
I think that's fair. 2 out of like 100.
Yeah, that's fair, percentage-wise.
So my first one, me and my friend Justin, we talk about it all the time. We went to Colorado, went up and hunted a new area that we hadn't hunted for turkeys before, and we woke up 4 a.m., left Spanish Fork, knowing that, we'll get there just about daylight. We'll be able to look for tracks, try to find some birds, and we drove all the way to the top of this mountain and could not find any fresh sign. We could tell that the turkeys had been down lower, and as the snow melted, they'd moved higher and higher up the mountain, and we're just not getting frustrated, but I think we were so anxious to just start hunting, like find some fresh sign and get going, that we pulled up and I looked out the truck window and seen where Tom had walked down the road in the mud probably 3 days before. And like, well, he's been here within 3 days, so it seems like he's by himself, no other hands. Let's go try it. And so we walked down this 2-track road and stopping and calling about every 250, 300 yards. Kind of windy, kind of hard to hear. And that's another thing with turkeys is they do not like wind. If you ever go outside on a windy day in the spring and you don't hear robins and you don't hear songbirds, turkeys are the same. They do not like the wind.
Makes sense.
Going back to the predators and everything's after them. And so we're working our way back to the truck, and we're probably only 150 yards away from the truck, and there's a big cattle pond, and we thought, well, let's just walk to the edge of the cattle pond, call down into these trees, see if we can get something to answer. And we hit the call and down the 2-track road that we had been walking and calling off of, a bird answered. And so we got sat down, got ready, and instead of just coming essentially where we had walked into those trees, that turkey cut across the field and came to the edge of the cattle pond. And for some reason wouldn't go to the left or to the right of the cattle pond to get into the trees where we are set up at. And I bet this bird gobbled no less than 50 times in a matter of 7-8 minutes.
Man.
He would just gobble, gobble, gobble. You'd hit the call and it'd start all over again of gobble, gobble, gobble. And so I'm sat there just baffled of why is he on the edge of this pond and not making a move to come to us. He's obviously interested.
Yeah. And can you see him?
I can't see
Okay.
him, no. And I can just hear
him.
And we're sitting there, and all of a sudden you can, out of the corner of my eye, see what looks like a red-tailed hawk swoop down right at the turkey. And he swooped at the turkey, startled him, made the turkey gobble like 4 more times, just erratic. And then next thing I know, I look, and the turkey is flying through the air across the cattle pond.
Oh my gosh.
And so I'm like, wow, this turned into a goose hunt
Yeah.
pretty much. And
Turkeys do not fly like that.
no.
They're like up to roost and down.
And so I get scooted over, get the gun pointed, and my friend, I think, could see that. I don't think he seen him fly, but he seen me move the gun, and he just gave one soft call. That bird answered and came on a string right to the gun barrel, and I shot him.
Shot him. That's awesome. I've never heard of anyone doing that before. Having them fly in.
Yeah, it was pretty
Land
crazy.
in front of you.
Getting attacked by a hawk, flying across cattle ponds. So when we took pictures, we actually found a stump right on the edge of the pond and took our pictures there with the blue pond in the background.
That's so funny. Turkey thought he was having a bad day when the hawk was coming at him.
Yeah,
Then he met Waylon Pritchett.
Just out there looking for love in all the wrong places.
For real. Oh, that's good. You had another story?
Yeah.
So many good ones.
So 10 years ago is when I started taking the kids with special needs.
Okay.
I had become proficient enough in turkey hunting and developed the skills and everything that my dad had taught me, and started taking more and more people. And my dad just simply inspired me that, hey, I want to help out. We're only taking 1 to 2 kids a year. If I help, we can now take 3 to 4 or more kids a year. And so I met a young boy by the name of Caden. He was super young. He was only 9 or 10, and he has what's called Duchenne's muscular dystrophy. And it's a terminal illness in boys. They don't make it past their teenage years. It's a muscle deteriorating disease, and their muscle is their heart is the last muscle to go. And so I took him, and I have his stepdad there with me, and I have Adam Eagle, and we go that first day, and we're in the ground blind, hen and a strutting decoy at 20 yards, and I think it was a heavy snow year that year, and on heavy snow years, turkeys' beards will actually broom off in the snow. And I remember these 5 toms came in, and I remember looking at all the beards and not seeing them or seeing small ones, and I'm like, oh, it's 4 jakes and 1 big tom. I'm like, okay, we're going to try to kill the big tom, and they're just in so tight and so close to each other, and we can't get a shot. And if looking back, it should have just been, okay, they're all legal. Anyone that is separated or we get a shot at, let's take it. No, I was trying to get the one
Get him
I
the
thought
big
was
one.
a big tom, and so he didn't end up getting any of those. I remember he was so funny. I take the safety off and I go, okay, Caden, get ready. Okay, I think you can shoot that one. And he goes, ready, aim, fire. And he didn't shoot, and I think he actually probably spooked the turkeys a little on that one. We hunted all that first day with no luck after those ones came in, and I think I'd went out the next morning, and same thing, no luck, really cold, kind of changing temperature and barometric temperature, and turkeys weren't really responding or doing anything. And my dad was successful with his kid the day before, and so he came up and met us in the afternoon, and we went back out in the blinds, and I brought my dad with me, and told him they're being quiet, I don't know what's going on. And so he goes and he just gets real aggressive with his calling, just like, oh, I'll make him gobble. And about an hour later, he calls this Jake in, and he acts like the boss hog Jake, half strut, coming to fight the strutting decoy. And so I got Caden set up on the tripod on the gun and got him pointed right in the right direction, and that bird stopped, and Caden just hammered him. And it was, in 10 years of hunting with kids with special needs, Caden's reaction was number one.
Yeah.
Just dropping off the top of a roller coaster, scream with excitement, reaction.
Oh, that's the best.
Yeah, it was truly just overwhelming, just to have everything come together and have a kid like that, and so appreciative and so excited. And I'll just always remember that. I'll always remember those emotions that I felt, and giving thanks, and kind of really cemented in my passion for helping those kids with special needs out and making it a priority to do it every year.
I can only imagine. And like, you guys worked hard together too to get that bird. That was days.
Yeah,
coming into it.
And that's one thing with turkey hunting. You never know. It can be, you set up, first 15 minutes, here they come, it all works out, you can shoot it and get it done. And it can be the opposite. You can go days and have bad weather, or you spook them, scare them, things go wrong, or like hunting public land can be really challenged just for how scarce the bird populations are, how widespread they are. That sometimes you could go half a day without hearing one answer, or take a half a day to find one, or not get any to answer, or not find one in a day.
Yeah. Definitely an emotional roller coaster. And then you add in someone like Caden with such a special story too.
Yeah.
Pretty incredible. I highly suggest you check out this episode if you want to get into turkey hunting this spring. Like, we're almost already there. Can you believe it? Everyone's putting in for the hunts. And Waylon is with a credible nonprofit organization, Kids with Disabilities Adventures, or KWD Adventures. We get to hear how that became to be and some amazing stories within that about taking these kids out hunting and what that organization is all about. After spending months on the mountain, hunting, soaking up all that natural sunlight, the days are now getting shorter and colder. I don't even have to tell you this. I personally have experienced at this time of year affects my vitamin D levels to be low, which impacts things like my mood and energy levels, just to name two things. I'm preparing to keep my vitamin D levels where they should be with the help of Mountain Op's vitamin D3 plus K2 gummies. These are delicious strawberry gummies that are a convenient way to help you get more vitamin D intake every day. Adding this to my daily routine has helped me conquer my days, whether I'm on the mountain, in the gym, working, or being a spouse and parent. You can get your Mountain Ops vitamin D3 plus K2 gummies at mountainops.com today. A few of our favorite other things in the cooler months that we love from Mountain Ops are their down jackets, their merino wool collections, their hoodies, the Slumber cider and salted caramel drinks. I love sipping on a warm drink in the winter. And we love our deep, restful, rejuvenating sleep. Hydration is also super important in the wintertime too. So be sure to check out their pineapple hydrate. It's the one back there. This is their new flavor and it seriously tastes like a Dole Whip. My kids love this hydrate. And because I just looked back there and I realized what else I have back there, Ignite. Need I say more? Energy and focus. To shop our favorites and help donate a meal to a child in need, go to mountainops.com and use our code BRITT, that's BRITT, for 20% off. Again, that's mountainops.com and use our code BRITT, BRITT, for 20% off. Coming up is Martina Hunt. She is the author of 1,000 Faces, and you might know her from the hashtag fightlikerawkee. She discusses the healing of the outdoors, entrepreneurship as a parent, and she shares a little piece of the story of her daughter, Rocky, who is a burn survivor. Her story, how the outdoors as a family is healing for them, and how it helped work through the trauma as well. And this clip is just really inspirational and heartwarming.
I don't know how to heal without the outdoors. It's such a staple piece in our relationship. Anytime we have any level of frustration, it's always like we haven't had enough outside time together. We just need to get out and feel the sun on our face and breathe some fresh air. And so I definitely think that making sure that you're with that person that has that core value system is essential. So Rocky's a force. She's incredible. All my children are. I've been gifted some pretty incredible spirits. Rocky was that child that was born with this ultimate desire for discovering every part of life and all that it holds. And so she came out differently. I mean, she entered the world in her own fierce way and has remained that. The day before her accident, we spent that day in the hills, and I have these the cutest pictures of her. And I remember feeling the energy was a little different that day. And obviously you never, they always say hindsight's 20/20. You look back and you realize oh, God gave me that gift,
Yeah.
But I just remember, I'll never forget, there was we were out shed hunting and there was this little, this dead tree, and she was riding it like a pony. And I remember just feeling like the world was in slow motion in that moment. Just watching her, get emotional. Watching her in nature, just being, just being this beautiful 4-year-old little girl, just alive with life. And I treasure that moment of just this time stood still. So she was in a burn accident on the farm. She was out burning fence lines with my husband, which is something we do routinely every spring, early spring, to keep all the vegetation off the fences so the livestock doesn't run through them. And she had gotten out and kind of wandered down where we had been burning. I wasn't there, I was actually at work, and the wind shifted and came down the canyon and pushed all of the heat into her. So she was never actually like on fire. She just literally started to melt. And so she was life flighted, and I'll kind of like fast track because all of this is in my book. So I don't want to like give the book away, you know,
Right.
or go into too many details that can be found there. But she was life flighted. And we ended up at UMC in Las Vegas. We spent 9 days there, and then we flew again to University of Utah, and we're there for 56. I think the first part that I really felt like I realized how powerful the outdoors and healing was our hospital room in UMC. There was no windows. We were in internal unit, and so it was just this dark room. And you take a little girl who has never, she spends 90% of her life outside. Like as soon as she's up in the morning and I get her hair done and get her dressed, like she's outside, and I just like don't see her again.
Mm-hmm.
And so you take this little girl that's just this barefoot, wild and free, and now she's literally strapped. Like they had restraints on her legs and her arms across her torso, like pinning her to the bed. She had like, because she was burned on her face, when you are burned, the swelling is intense. Like it's crazy. And because of where her burns were, she was losing her airways. And so they actually had to like tie all of her oxygen onto her face, which created more, like it was cutting through her cheekbones, like the pressure of the nasal cannula. But she was literally strapped to the bed. And so you take this little girl, and granted she was in a coma, but I just remember feeling like as I would lay next to her, breathe with her, those first couple of really critical days, her energy was so heavy. And I felt dark and heavy. I could tell that her body was struggling. And I just remember having this impression, like if I could just carry her into the sunshine, if she could just feel the sunshine. And so that was a huge, powerful moment for me of realizing like how essential the outdoors really is. And when we moved hospitals to University of Utah, that was the most exciting thing, was the windows. They have huge windows, and you can actually see out and feel the sunshine coming in. I'll never forget the day we transported. So we transported via ambulance from the hospital in Vegas, and then we ended up at the airport, and we got to do this little, like they pushed her in the gurney across the airport to the little fixed wing, and she just giggled. She was literally just giggling, and everyone was like, "What are you laughing about?" And she's like, "The sunshine. I can feel the sunshine." And all you could see was like her little teeny eyes poking out, but she felt that. And that was the first for me. She'd only been out of her coma a couple of days at that point. And I have pictures of like her energy in the Vegas hospital. It was so sad. She was so pouty and so depressed. But as soon as she felt that sunshine, it was like this first positive streak of like, we got this, we're good, we can do this. And then getting there and having the accommodations that the University of Utah has to offer was incredible. And then as we came out of the hospital and back home, as you well know, burn is a life journey. It's not just a one and done. And so she came home in full body compression, and her face had to be totally covered. But the first thing we did was get her back out in nature. And I think that we experienced a lot of criticism, on social media, a lot of hard comments and people that have never been through trauma that don't understand. But being able to take her back out, I mean, literally the day we left the hospital, I remember my husband's like, we're just going to drive. We're going to drive and we're going to get out and we're just going to go hiking. And we did. We went straight from Salt Lake City all the way to Southern Utah, and we went to one of our favorite spots. We got out of the truck, and she was too weak to like walk. And so my husband just put her on his back, and we just went. And it was so essential for her to realize, like, this does not define you. You get out, you beat this. You just keep going. You keep being who you were. And though there'll be limitations and there'll be little setbacks in the road, you got this, girl. And so I don't know how to heal without. having that nature element.
This episode is special in so many ways, whether you're going through something hard or you're just needing some encouragement. I promise you will be inspired by Megan and Rocky's story. Just because the weather is getting colder doesn't mean you shouldn't be thinking about upgrading your cooler. We still have plenty of adventures to take, food to keep cold while you're going on them, and you want to keep them from getting soggy. There's nothing worse than reaching in for like your snack and the paper's wet and soggy or your cheese is soggy. Plus, you want to be able to keep those drinks cold, keep those mountains blue and the water refreshing after that hike. Not to mention, be able to keep your meat cold on the way to the butcher or taking it home. So where are you going to put all that? In a cooler that's ultra lightweight? Are you going to be able to keep those drinks cold, those mountains blue, and your food organized? Are you going to be able to keep those snacks easily accessible? How about knowing that your cooler can float upright every time? No need to panic on the duck boat anymore. Rugged Road coolers offer all this. And they have new sizing. They have the smaller V25. This can hold up to 25 12-ounce cans. It's kind of like a cool, bigger version of a lunch pill, but it still has all of our favorite features of the Rugged Road, the flip top and the snack rack. Plus, now they have the big daddy of them all, the 115. This sucker will hold some meat, and we're excited ours is currently on its way. Like I mentioned, the Rugged Road is ultra lightweight. As you can see, one hand, it has this flip top, which I think would be super nice come duck season to be able to, one, sit on an extra bench, and then two, be able to sit and make your food on something, some cup holders as well. And then, like I mentioned, inside it does have the snack rack. So you've got a place to put your things, a divider so you know whose drinks go where and what. And it has top of the line ice retention. To get your new cooler, go to ruggedroadoutdoors.com and use our code LONG, that's LONG, for 10% off your next cooler. Tell them we sent you by going to ruggedroadoutdoors.com and use our code LONG again for 10% off your next order. I saved this one for last because it is a newer episode and it is one of the many, many stalks you hear about in my bison hunt story. I decided to take this one and bring it over here just because I know that episode is like a 2.5 hour episode. It's a long one. I decided to do just one big run for it. And so many people are seeing different clips online of the stalks that we made. And I thought it'd be a great time to throw one of those in here so that you can hear a little glimpse of stalks that we did on the bison hunt. This is the story of really getting to hear up close and personal those buffalo growl. Well, I have Cody with me. Nicole was there filming. Rendell, Jeremy was there, and our kids were hanging out with them while we were making a stalk on these buffalo and kind of our thought processes behind this stalk. Monday was your last full day hunting with us. And so we were like, we got to make something work. Hopefully we find something. Same thing, we decided to go down to the lower area because, we had seen buffalo, might as well go there. Everybody else that had tags was still hunting up higher from what we knew at this point. So it just felt like we might as well break it up and go lower.
And they hadn't seen anything either.
Right. So I'm like, let's go where we've seen buffalo.
Yeah.
Let's head to winter ground in August.
Right?
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
No, so weird. So that's when we headed down there. You guys went out.
Yeah, because we went out. You guys kind of went more to the west, and we stayed more to the east.
We went to one of our other spots that we've always been able to like glass out over. Granted, this is usually in the springtime / first part of summer, maybe like winter. We can see buffalo this way, and now we're in August and we're glassing there. But leave it to Cody. He was able to spot bison like 4 miles out there in his binos.
Mm-hmm.
Which always amazes me that he can find these little dots.
Right. It's like animal eyes. Like they were made to hunt.
They were.
And they're hard to and they just are so hard to find,
Yeah. I think what's tricky too is it's like out there you've got a lot of plateaus and then you also have like a rolling of the land. So you can see them at one moment, and then the next it rolls just enough to where they disappear for a while and then back up, or either that they just drop off into a canyon. So he ended up spotting those far away. We got the spotter out on them, was trying to get an idea because they were so far away. At that point, it's like bringing up your Onyx, trying to figure out, okay, where am I? Where could they be? So that way we can let the other guys, they were out that way too, know maybe where they could come spot for us. So that way, again, because they can move so quickly like that and they can disappear, someone was spotting and letting us know if they had moved
and what
one
direction
way or the other, and what direction. So we finally were able to kind of get an idea. Cody kept being like, when we were trying to all find, we're like, where the hell are you looking? He's like, find the field that looks like a vagina.
Oh, got it.
Got it. Immediately. Bison in the vagina. Thanks, Cody.
Vagina Canyon or Vagina
Yeah,
Hill.
great. But listen, whatever works.
And so when you guys did turn up that herd you found, I mean, we'd been glassing all over the place and glassing different canyons, but then you guys gave us a call and you'd said you'd turn some up, and it turns out when you had spotted those and where we were, we really weren't too far from where the buffalo actually were. We were probably closer to the buffalo than you guys were.
Yeah, I think so.
But just where we were, like, obviously we weren't spotting them from there.
Line distance on Onyx, it was like 6.5 miles.
Yeah. And for us, we were probably only 3 miles away line distance. And so we decided to go meet. We were going to go meet.
Coming to meet up with us so we could leave a spotter and get over and try and get on them.
Yeah, we were going to leave you where we were.
Mm-hmm. And so we were hauling over to that area. And when we were hauling over to see you guys is when we had kind of turned a corner and the buffalo you guys were glassing were right there. Yeah. And I can't remember. I want to say that we called you guys right after, and you guys started making your way towards us thinking we had saw the same herd.
Yeah. Because you weren't quite sure. Right before we decided, I know where that's at, and I know where the road is. We got to go.
Yeah. Because when you called us, you weren't 100% sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And so
I thought they were further north than they actually were.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't think they were right off the road like that.
And so when we were coming over, we were thinking we were going to replace where you guys were so you guys could put a stalk on them. Right. And so we came over past them and then just met you guys a couple miles down the road from where they actually were and put together the game plan then. At that point, like, we were all excited. We were like, yeah, this is going down now.
Everybody's here.
Like,
there's some big bulls in there.
This is over. Like, hunts, let's go poke it and be done. Like,
I was sure of it.
I mean, even Rivs was super stoked. I mean,
he was thumbs up in like, mom's getting a buffalo. Again, it like reignites that flame inside of you, right? That's just like, buffalo. So we were able to meet up with them and kind of make a game plan. We had expected that they had crossed the buffalo that we had found, and they just kept driving, and they kind of gave us a lay of like, okay, this is for sure where they are when you guys go up there. So it was fun. We dropped the kids off with the other guys. Me, Cody, and Nicole hopped in with Jeremy, and Jeremy drove us up to where we thought they would be. That herd that we saw in the vagina, we hiked and hiked.
And so hiked. At that point where we had met up, we decided to go back about where you guys were glassing from so that we could spot you guys stalking in, because where we were, we weren't going to see them anywhere close right there. And so
if they go over the ridge, they're gone.
And when we got to that point, I don't even think I had the cover off the spotting scope yet, and Rivs is sitting down there watching, saying he's got him in the scope.
Weird.
Big stories.
And me and Daryl and Coop, Rivs could turn them up, but no, the rest of us couldn't turn it up.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And we just felt like we were freaking wandering.
We thought we were right.
But we just never ran into him at that point.
Yeah.
Which was crazy.
And like, we didn't really see any sign either, which was also something I noticed, because I'm like, okay, a herd that big, this is where they were, but there was no sign or like any way to track them. Or like, well, coming back, actually, we got into this like sagebrush kind of looking, not a canyon, but I'm not sure what you would call it, like a divot. I don't know.
Yeah. Just like a draw.
And a part of me, I was like, they're laying in here, they're hiding in these bushes, because we saw some sign over there. But man, they just vanished.
40
anywhere.
buffalo. How did they cross without us noticing?
Well, and that's something, again, like never hunting buffalo before. That was different for me. Like, I've hunted with you quite a bit.
42,000-pound animals have got to leave a track.
And to me, it's like, seriously, like, how do they not, like, how are you not able to get on their track?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know there's old track, I know there's new track, I know there's fresh track and everything in there, but like, how are you guys not seeing this herd of like 50 or 60 buffalo in there? That how are you guys really not coming across their sign? And you guys are like, no.
And it's
Like,
obvious.
Yeah. There was
Oregon
nothing.
Trail just turned up,
Yeah.
turned up.
It's like cattle. You would, but there was nothing.
But from the time that we passed them in the truck where we met you guys at to the time that you guys would have been back up into the area to get on them, it wasn't 25 minutes.
No, 30 minutes max.
That was quick.
Yeah.
And
like,
they moved 2 miles?
yeah, and the fact that you guys got up there and aren't seeing anything, I'm just like, you got to be kidding me.
And then when you guys glassed us up, and you guys are half a mile past where they were.
Yeah. And we had confusion there because we're sitting there like, we're like, no, you guys aren't in the right area. And like thinking there's like no way if they would have been anywhere, we should have been able to see them from where we were.
Right.
And so we ended up coming back and meeting at the truck, and like spirits were a little bit more down there because it was like, how do these 4,000-pound creatures just disappear?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
It was bizarre. And we didn't even know what like direction to head.
yeah. And I think we were all questioning our sanity. Like, did we really
Are they just back in a hidey hole? Did they double back on us? Where'd they go?
Well, and they couldn't, because I had driven up and down that road while Coop took a nap in the back and looked for sign that maybe they had crossed the road the other way. And it was like, there's for sure no sign that they went this way. Because, I mean,
Especially what we learned later in the hunt of fresh tracks over tracks.
Yeah.
well, and I mean, like we talked about, like the track and being hard to find in that area, but it also kind of rained that night before that the ground was wet. Like the ground was fresh enough that we should have seen some sort of track if they had crossed the road. I mean, it didn't rain hard enough to erase everything, but it had rained hard enough that we should have been on fresh track when we were on track. And so when we came back up after we got done glassing and like everything was down, we met up again. It was kind of like, all right, where do we go from here?
And that was like a middle of the day walkabout in the desert, and that was a hot one. It was hot, and you're in full camo. It was hot. So we ended up meeting up with them, and we're like, well, I have no idea where they went. Why don't we go, this way? Let's see if they're this way.
Took a break, got some water, because I remember sitting in the truck like,
oh my gosh,
I'm gonna take my shirt off. It's really
I know, we did. We were like, activate sports bras. Like, it is too hot for this shit.
It was really hot, but we weren't just walking. We were like fast walking. We were trying to walk as fast as possible. Didn't put a pack on. We didn't bring water. We didn't bring snacks. Got out of the car and we're like, see ya later.
Bye, let's go kill a buffalo. Yeah. The first 30 minutes you're like not worried about it, and then you're realizing like we're getting farther and farther and not seeing anything.
But I'm gonna keep going though, because I'm determined to find them.
For sure. But as soon as the truck comes, you're like, okay, I need a water and I need to cool down.
And what are we going to do now? And we had kind of decided that we would keep going back out to the west, back out to the main road.
Then we decided to head out and go drive down, and like maybe they went this way. We might as well see. Like there's buffalo somewhere right here, but like where did they go? And as we were driving, Nicole's got her eyes honed in.
I'm like determined.
Yeah.
Because it was the last day too.
Yeah, it was your last day with me.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm gonna get this on video for her. I swear to God.
Yeah. So we're driving, still trying to recover from this freaking brutal hot walkabout power walk. And all of a sudden you were like, there's a fucking buffalo. But I was just like really excited. I'm like, she is on it. Like I remember Cody being like, yeah, Nicole found the buffalo. Just super stoked. So sure enough, we found where they ran to. They were just hanging out. And so we backed up.
And then it wasn't 15 minutes after we split up that we got a call from you. Hey, they're right here.
They're right off the side of the road to the north.
Yeah.
And so the emotions, I mean, they went from we're going to kill a buffalo to where the heck, like, are there even buffalo here?
This
Back up. Yeah.
We're going to kill a buffalo again. Like, your excitement, just a roller coaster
Oh yeah,
of the
was the
highest of
buffalo.
highs and the lowest of lows. Like,
To a
it
T.
was crazy.
it's buffalo period.
Yeah.
And so,
You can go from 0 to hero in 30 seconds.
oh yeah. And then back at the top of that mountain to the lowest of lows of like, what are we doing? And it had already been kind of,
What do we know about buffalo?
yeah.
Everything we think we know, we're just getting our butts kicked.
And it had already been kind of frustrating from the day before to, not seeing anything.
From seeing 200 plus scouting the week before.
Yeah.
Which just made it that much more confusing. But when you called back and you're like, oh, they're right here, like, we hurry and flip around and get back to where you guys are and like kind of come in coasting, coming in slow, and made that plan that you, Nicole, and Cody were all gonna break up and go put a stalk on them. And we're thinking, cool, like, and me and Jeremy are sitting back in timeout with Daryl and the like,
A-team on the bench.
yeah, the A team's on the bench, and we're like, gosh, if you want to kill something, you gotta send us with. And
That much more noise. Okay.
Right. And the best part about it is later on that day when Rivers asked you guys, why'd you leave the A team on the bench?
Yeah, he did when we got back. We were like,
We, we got in them though. Like we were 48 yards.
yeah.
48 yards, and Nicole's like, take your fucking pick. Like they're just walking by us. Like
One thing I've learned from this hunt too was like they are in a huge herd. So, there's 3 of us walking and we're trying to be as quiet as possible, but there was like 50 to 70 bison over there. There was a lot of, maybe I'm wrong, but I thought there was like a huge herd. So you're trying to be as quiet as possible, but there's like 100 eyes on you,
Right.
and ears. So
Yeah, that's what I was telling Cody at the beginning, like when we first started seeing the buffalo, the realization had come to me like, oh my gosh, I'm archery hunting, but the one I might want might be right in the middle. And then you have, like you said, that many more eyes, ears, and noses on you. Like it adds a whole other element. Like they're not broken off by themselves
right.
in this instance. So you're totally right. Like it always seems like there would be 1 or 2 that would catch on, and then those ones would let the rest know and take off.
Yeah.
And so that's what we did. We dropped down, we played the wind, slowly started making our way to them. We were making a pretty good stalk, even though it was pretty loud. I feel like the wind was really working in our favor for a minute. And on that stalk was the first time.
Thunder and lightning, remember?
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't raining on us, but in the distance there was really loud thunder.
Yeah, there was. Because I was wondering, like, oh, are we going to get caught in this? Like, it went from super hot to like, ooh.
A storm.
Yeah, this might suck. But that was the first moment, like getting closer and closer. We were finally, getting in on them. I'd say we were probably like 50 to 100 yards away. I remember all of a sudden hearing that growl of the buffalo.
roaring bar.
Yeah.
And being like, holy shit.
I think I got that on. Did you listen?
You did. Yeah, you got it. Yeah, I'll have to make a reel with it and put on because, and I just like when it happens, it's funny too because you captured my face being like,
oh,
like
the bulls are just freaking pushing and going hard. Like
me and Jeremy just sitting in timeout. Yeah, and back to that frustration, like a rifle hunt, you're just waiting for the anticipation of hearing the shot.
yeah,
and it's like me and Jeremy sitting there like we can't even hear a shot. Like we want to go peek around the corner, but we don't want to spook them if they're still there. And so we're just sitting there like, just time out. Like me and Jeremy,
is there one dead? Are they tracking it? Are they still hunting one?
Are they going to pack it out by themselves? Like, what are we doing here? Because at that point, like, with how frustrated I was sitting in timeout for no reason, I was going to make you pack it out yourself. I didn't even care.
Okay.
Of course you were.
Let's sit right here.
Me and Jeremy would have
And
sat
no
there and
shit,
watched.
there Rendell was with his backpack packing a buffalo out.
And you can hear him at that point. We're getting closer, and this was I think really exciting in this stalk because we were getting close enough that we could hear them breathing and moving a little bit.
Yeah.
So this was definitely the closest we had been to them. But yeah, we had kind of just gotten to where we got up on them, and I think one of them had kind of looked up, and our wind had switched and got just enough of us that took one of them, and all of them took off.
Yeah.
And it kind of was just that back and forth, like cat and mouse game for probably like 10 or 15 minutes where they'd finally slow down. We'd get caught up to them again. And just as we'd get caught up to them, kind of making our way into them, they'd get in a really thick cedar bush. So it'd make it hard to like get a clear shot on anything and also be able to decipher what's what. And then as we just get close enough to like feel like, okay, now we can get in and maybe sit here and wait, the wind would shift and then they would take off again. So that one was just really like another grinder where I felt like we just kept chasing them, which was frustrating, like you said. And then at that point we had thunder and lightning happening behind us. And then I got to a point where they had taken off like a stampede and we thought we were following them one way and we just never did catch up with them or could find them, which is crazy.
Right. Like you could see their footprints of the stampede too. We did find that.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's like disappeared as soon as it hit the other side.
Yeah. They like dove off into a canyon. And once they got down there, like it's just so thick. It's like, you're not gonna, you can sit and track them and track them and track them. But like, are you just going to keep pushing them at this point?
Right.
At this point in the hunt, it's like we were still learning the buffalo and like what it was they did. So.
Right. And we did try to drive. We walked back to the car. Hiked back to the car. Dead silence. Everybody's silent. I'll never forget that. We were all like, "Fuck."
Yeah, it was because it felt so hopeful so many times in that little stalk session.
That's hunting, and that's why it's so hard, but that's why it's so rewarding too because you try and try. But yeah, that was
because when you guys stalked them and they started moving and you guys kept with them, I mean, you came back and you put on what, like 7 miles?
It was a
lot.
It was 6
and
or
we'd
7
already
miles,
done like
probably.
3 before that doing the other ones.
Like,
and that was a hot day.
That was hot.
First time trying to get on them.
First time.
Yeah, that was hot. I mean, it was
gnarly.
it was
That was like
shorts and
12 miles.
t-shirt weather.
Yeah,
Because the first time I think we did 6.
Yeah.
Then we got back from the other one, I think it was 7.
Yeah.
Tracking them down through and watching them.
And like Nicole says, we just bell out with camera and bow and a phone and like no water.
$2,500 worth of optics and tripod in the trees off the side of the road.
Trying to just keep up with them.
Yeah. Because like, again, being very naive and very new to buffalo, like I'm thinking, how are you guys like not on them? Yeah. Like they're buffalo.
They're big, dumb, and slow.
Yeah. It's not like they're going to,
you would think.
It's not like they're moving fast and getting out of there. Like, how are you guys not on them?
They move quicker than you think, even feeding though.
Yeah.
Buffalo look like a herd, looks slow feeding. They actually move a lot as they're grazing.
They just cover ground and they don't really ever stop. They just keep going and feed and keep going and feed, which made it that much more difficult. We came to find out.
They just wait. I'm like, if I come back with my arms pumping and stuff, like, just know if my arms aren't woohooing, then like, that's a sign, like, no go. Yeah. I don't want to talk about it right now. So that was interesting. I'm like, oh yeah, that is kind of like a bummer. Just sit there, like,
just stand there too. They were there for a good amount of time, just waiting. I totally forgot. And as we walked up, I was like, oh my god, they've been waiting here this whole time. Like, we're right where we left them.
Yep.
We're walking up and seeing them all like.
Yeah. How did it go? What happened?
Details get even juicier. I mean, I got there like the first couple days and it was kind of like, yeah. The last day was our most eventful day for sure, but the hunt just gets more gruesome. Especially the day after. I can't wait to hear you reflect back on the day after I left, because that is a story to tell.
I know this episode was kind of different. I'm like, this is either like marketing genius or marketing suicide. But I wanted to be able to give you guys some of the highlights that happened throughout Reckoning because, again, there are so many deep, meaningful conversations that are had. But sometimes it's hard to remember them all, or maybe you've listened to some of these before and you're like, oh, hey, I totally forgot about that episode, or this was a great story and it reminded me to do this or that. And sometimes I find, for me personally, depending on the mind space that I'm in, different parts of different stories hit me differently when I listen to them. Again, these were some of our best hunting stories, just the tiniest glimpse. It was hard to choose, of 2024. If you want to look for any of those, you can go below and I will have each episode listed in the description so that if you found something you want to go back and listen to, or you want to listen to the full episode, I'll have that outlined. I do appreciate if you go to YouTube and you subscribe, and you can watch the interviews there. I'm trying to upload past interviews as well before 2024. If you happen to listen to this and you enjoyed it, or you listened to one of the other episodes and you really found that one helpful, it would mean so much to me if you were to screenshot it and share it on social media and tag me at Brittany.long or at the Reckoning Podcast. It really is just helping get word out. That is the goal for 2025. Grow Reckoning. So your guys' help means the world. If there's something you want to see from us, or an episode you really enjoyed, or a guest that you really loved me having on and you want to get to know them more, please feel free to email me or DM me on Instagram and be like, hey, we got to know more. And I would love to be able to provide that for you guys, the audience, because at the end of the day, you guys are who I want to provide information for, inspire, and inform. Wow, my pillow is behind my chair instead of on my chair. And I'm thinking next week, I'm going to bring you guys all of our favorite motivational, wellness, and health clips so that you can get started for the new year. Holy shit, Christmas is next week. Are you guys ready? From my family to yours, I hope you have a Merry Christmas.